Hey paddlers, today I want to show you how I teach the brace stroke. And the brace stroke is an essential skill. It's an absolutely necessary part of OC1 paddling. So if you're not already bracing, I'm going to give you the steps so that you can learn how. You need this so you can stop yourself from huliing. And it's going to help create a little more confidence so that when you're out in the ocean, you're not going to be leaning left so hard all the time, because you're going to feel that the right side is the safe side, and the right side is where you've got a brace stroke where you can stop yourself from huliing. So I really encourage you to really take this on and follow these steps, which pretty much breaks it down and makes it easy to learn. So the first step of learning to brace is just paddle placement and where you're going to put your paddle on the water. So first thing you want to do is understand that you need leverage. That's what you're doing by placing the paddle, is you're creating leverage, similar to how the ama creates leverage. So you can't have it too close to you or you don't have enough leverage. And you don't want it out in front of you because your mass, your body is here, and you don't want it behind you. That's really hard on your shoulder. So you want to have the paddle more or less perpendicular to where your hips are, or to where the center of mass of your body is. So the first thing you want to practice is just going from a paddle stroke and into a brace stroke. So you've got to get used to putting your left hand on your right hip and still keeping this hand. Don't let your hand creep up. I see this all the time. People want to do this. You need the leverage with this arm. So get your hand out, get your paddle out, and get this hand across your hip. So practice this a whole bunch of times. You can even have a friend stand there and guard your ama for you, so you don't feel like you're about to huli, so that you can really trust that this is something that you can actually do really easily. So that's step one, is paddle placement. Step two is getting comfortable with your hips moving and the boat moving underneath your shoulders or underneath your body. So this is going to make the camera wobble a bit, but you'll get the idea. So I'm using my hips now to control and move the boat. So this is easier to do while you're moving. I know that might sound counterintuitive, but you actually have more stability with speed. So come out, hold your paddle out here, and start moving and wiggling your hips. Now, if you're really not comfortable doing that on your own, have a friend do it in shallow water. Have a friend stand right there and guard your ama, and practice lifting your hips over and over again. And you really want to move into a fast, controlled motion through your hips. Okay. Step three is a moving drill. Is this a moving step? So get your boat going, and we're going to practice placing the paddle on the water like we did already, but this time we're going to let it skim the surface. So you notice that it's skimming through the water. And what I'm getting comfortable with here is what happens, whoop, there it dips. See how it goes underwater? That means you're going to huli when that happens. So you're kind of just getting used to this idea of having your paddle touch the water while you skim. So just getting comfortable with this. Okay, sitting up tall, driving through your legs, getting comfortable with your paddle placed on the water and skimming the surface. Step four, I'm going to have you practice skimming and stopping. So skimming and stopping means that you have to put some pressure on the blade. So now I'm kind of pushing down on the blade and letting the water push back up against the blade, and I'm stopping myself. So this can look a couple different ways, just like I just did, where you're sort of pressing and releasing, press and release. Or you can brace to stop. So press and really press until you stop in the water, like that. Press and stop. And really notice what your knee is doing when you do this. The most common thing we see is that everybody wants to go like this. The whole point of getting the brace stroke is to stop doing this, to retrain your brain not to do that anymore. So let's go back to pressing or to stopping. So drag and stop. Now the other thing you can do to make this more dramatic is to turn your paddle a little bit. So I'm going to take my wrist and I'm going to turn it. So from flat, I'm going to turn it a little bit to create more of a break. So once again, So one of the purposes of doing this is to understand how much pressure you can and need to put on your paddle. Because when your arm is up in the air here and you're trying to stop yourself from huliing, if you just lightly touch it, you're gonna go over. So what you really need to practice and really get comfortable with is putting pressure and trusting that you can press on this. I'm doing it and so can you. Anybody can learn how to do that. So once you've gotten through those 4 steps, the last step is to skim and to use your hips just a little bit to lift the ama. So now I'm going to use my hips and I'm going to lift, and I've got this here and I'm pressing on it to stop myself from going over. Skimming, hips up, pressing, skimming, pressing, hips up, down. So that takes you back to that second step, which was about moving the hips. So moving the hips, you can either move the hips and then put the paddle on the water, or you can put the paddle on the water and then move the hips. But no matter what, you have to keep your weight a little bit over and onto the blades. You can't be doing this and trying to brace. It won't work. So that's the 5-step process that I've started to use over the years to really help people learn how to brace and to stop themselves from huliing. Good luck and have fun.